Welcome back to Amazing Mazes. This is part 8 and today we're going to build a brand new little feature into our game. Now at the moment the bear is having to hide from ghosts and try and dodge them to avoid losing a life, but we're going to actually build a special little thing into our game today where the bear is going to become powerful and he's going to be able to catch ghosts for extra points. Well, our Bear in the Maze game so far is pretty good, but the bear's got no way he can protect himself from the ghosts. So today we're going to add a special little feature in so the bear can actually find a way of kind of catching the ghosts instead of the ghosts just catching him. So let's start off by creating a new sprite. This one's called SPR_crystal. So if you load a sprite from your sprite pack, which you've got in My Documents, just go into Mazes platform, and there's lots of different coloured crystals in here. You can choose whichever one you like. There's either crystals that are just ordinary, or we've also got an animated one here which sparkles will appear on it if you select that one. So we'll have that. And we're just going to make a crystal object so we can put it in the room. So let's name this one Obji_crystal, and we'll give it the crystal sprite. Okay. Next we're going to create two different sound effects which we're going to use as well. So let's name this one SND crystal, and it's going to play a sound when the bear collects a crystal. So go into load sound. Again, go into My Documents and the Sounds folder, and we want the one that's called Curious Up, which is quite an unusual little sound effect. And then we're just going to make one more sound effect, and this is the sound when the bear catches a ghost. So we're going to call this one SND_catch. And if we click on Load Sound, we should be back in the same folder. If you click on the one here that's called Alarm and open that up, makes a funny kind of whining noise which we're going to use in our game. Now the crystal's going to make the ghosts become afraid, but we need a way to show the player that the ghost has become afraid. So we're going to duplicate the ghost sprite, and then we're going to change it. So here we've got all the sprites of the white ghost. If you go into Images and then click on Colorize, one of the ways we could do this is just simply by pulling this bar up so the ghost turns blue. But unfortunately, because our original image is quite grey, it doesn't pick the colour up very well at all. So we're going to use a slightly different method to make this blue ghost. So if we go into this pencil image here called Edit the Image, then use your magnifying glasses to bring it up big. We're just going to recolour it. If you use ordinary white and fill an area, we're just going to make all the white parts white, because they've got a funny, strange grey colour on them now. So that's going to help those parts show up. You can always use the undo button if you've accidentally filled the wrong area with the wrong colour. Then we're going to pick this dark blue colour from up here. Now there's two kinds of grey on this ghost. There's like a pale grey and a dark grey. So I'm now filling in the pale grey parts with this blue colour here, as you can see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a darker blue in a minute, and we're going to fill in the areas which are the darker grey. It is quite tricky to see, but if you bring your image up nice and big, it makes it a lot easier to click on the right part and to actually see the different colours. There we are. Yep. And I haven't used the darkest blue, I've used the second darkest blue for this part. And certainly it does take a little while to do all this, but it does produce a really, really nice result. So there are definitely two ways you could recolour your ghosts. Just fill that part there. Oh, you can see that I accidentally filled in the wrong square, but again, you've got your undo button, so you can quickly correct any mistakes you've made. just go up here. We've just got these bits on his sleeves, so let's put that in. There we are. You can see I've done one of them, so I've got to now do this for all the images. So I'll be back in a minute when I've finished all 4 images. Right, here we are, and I'm just finishing off the very last bit of the 4th image. So although it took a little while, we've got very nice effect. There's our blue ghost, and that's going to tell the player when the ghost is afraid. So let's name this one SPR underscore afraid underscore ghost. And it should be, the mask should be modified so that he doesn't get stuck on any walls. So make sure that that's happened. Now what we need to do is open up our ObjiGhost, and this is where we're going to set up a special switch. And we're going to start off by creating the switch, and we're going to use a variable to do this. So if you go into Control, go down to here to the one that's called Set Variable and pull it over. Our variable is going to be called afraid, and that's going to create our switch. At the moment we want to switch it off, so type in false, because at the beginning of the game we want the ghost to be white, we want him to be normal. So that's that part done. Now we want to create a collision event inside ObjiBear when he bumps into a crystal. So there's a collision with the crystal. Main tab 1. Let's play that crystal sound effect which we've just made. Then we want to destroy the crystal. So drag over your destroy instance and make sure it's set to other, so the crystal disappears. Then we want to change the sprite of the ghost, because we want to make him blue. Now we want to make sure all the objects, all the ghosts in the room do this. So click on this one called Object and set it to Ghost, and then all of them will change colour when a crystal is found. Let's change the sprite to blue, subimage -1, and speed 0. Now what we need to do is put our switch on. So pull over a set variable action, and we're going to type in afraid and set it to true, because remember we've just collected a crystal, so now afraid is true. And the other thing we need to do, is we need to make sure that applies to is set to all the ghosts, so this applies to all the ghosts. And there's one more thing we need to do. If we go into main 2, we're going to pull over an alarm event, and we're going to set this to 160, because the ghost isn't going to stay afraid forever. He's going to only stay afraid for a short amount of time. Make sure you've set applies to object ObjiGhost again. And then if the bear bumps into a crystal, we play a sound effect, we destroy the crystal, we change the ghost to blue, we put the afraid switch on, or switch to true, and then we start the timer going for 160 steps. But now what we need to do is just open up our ghost object, and we're going to handle the event for what happens when that timer runs out. So let's add an event in here, alarm 0 event, and in here we're going to switch that afraid switch off. So let's go to Control tab, pull over set variable, type in afraid and set it to false, and up here you see we can just leave this one on self, because this event is happening inside the ghost object. And then there's just one more thing. We want to change the ghost's artwork, so he stops being blue and goes back to his original colour. So pull over change sprite, set it back to SPR ghost, subimage -1, speed 0. And that's all we need to do for that object. Now the last bit we need to handle now is what happens when the bear bumps into a ghost when the ghost is changed. If we go into our collision with our ghost, you can see all the actions for what happens to the bear when he bumps into an ordinary ghost. But now what we need to do is create actions for when he bumps into a frayed ghost. So first of all, we're going to add start blocks and end blocks to the actions we've already got here, so that they're all grouped together before we put in the new actions. Let's pull over a test variable and put it right at the very top, and we're just going to check if our afraid switch is switched on or off. So type in afraid, value true, and then we're going to create a set of actions for that. Make sure you've clicked on object, obj-ghost, so this applies to the obj-ghost. Then add a start block underneath. So if afraid is true, what we're going to do next is play a sound effect. Let's go into main one, pull over a sound, and we'll collect SND catch, which we created earlier. Then we're going to get some points for catching an afraid ghost. So let's go into score, pull over set score, set it to 200, and we're going to make sure relative's been ticked. And then finally we're going to go into the move tab, find jump to start and pull that over, and make sure that it applies to other, so the bear doesn't jump, so that the ghost jumps instead. And then all we need to do is add an end block. So go back into control and drag over an end block so that all these actions are together. And then we just grab this one called else, and we're just going to pull it between these two different actions. Right, I'll just resize this bit so that you can see all of the actions now. So we've got our afraid working as a switch. So if afraid is switched on, if you bump into a ghost that's afraid, that's turned blue, this is a sequence of actions. It's going to play a sound, you'll get some points, and the ghost will jump back to its start position. However, if the ghost is not afraid, if he's white, it's going to play that ouch sound, you'll have the pause, the ghost and the bear will jump back, and the bear will lose a life. So I think you can see how that switch is working a bit better now. I'm going to open up my room. Now you can see that the room's changed quite a bit since you last seen it. All that I've done is I've created a brand new maze by using the purple blocks, which we made when we were creating the title screen a few sessions back. So we put those in. I've added some invisible walls. I've added a room controller, which is very important. Put some coins in, some cherries. Over here I've put a bear in. Make sure you've got the bear and not still bear, otherwise he won't be able to move. Put some ghosts in. So all we need to do to test this part is just add a few crystals which we've been making. So let's put some of those in the maze now. You can pause the video later if you want to try and copy this maze. So let's test it. Right, now hopefully if I go and pick up a crystal, yep, they change colour, and I should be able to catch them. But if we keep an eye on them, when the timer runs out like that, you see they go back to their normal colour. Yep, and if I catch one, I get extra points, and they jump back to the start. So that's working perfectly.
What do you do if you want to make more than one object? Like my white ghost here. What if I want to make a green ghost? Well, one thing I could do is I could just make a green ghost from scratch. I could just make some green artwork here, and then I could just start programming it. So if I just start putting in a create event and some actions, step event and some actions, an alarm event and some actions, and so on and so on, that would work quite well. The only trouble with this is that although it's not too bad if all I want to make is a green ghost, what if I want to make a blue one and a red one and a yellow one? I'm sure you can start to imagine that's going to be a lot of work. So how could we cut the work down? Well, one thing we could do is we could duplicate the white ghost. And that would mean all of the events and actions that are inside the white ghost would be copied and put straight into the green ghost. And that would certainly save us some time, because it means they would behave exactly the same. The only problem with this is what happens when it interacts with other objects. Let's just move them across a bit so you can see this. Here's my Obgy Bear here. Now, in the original programming, if he bumps into a white ghost, he loses a life. But the trouble is, the bear doesn't understand that the green ghost is the same. And although he has a collision with the white ghost, as you can see on here inside his programming, this now means that what I need to do is tell the bear, give him a collision with the green ghost, and tell him also that he needs to lose a life or take some damage. Let's just finish writing that. And there we are. You can see there that the bear needs a separate collision event for the green ghost. And again, that's not too much of a problem if all you're making is a green ghost. But if I want to make a blue ghost and a red ghost and an orange ghost, it means that the bear's going to need collision events for all of them. And again, that's quite a bit of work. I wonder if there's a way we could do this where we didn't have to make all these extra events. Well, actually, inside GameMaker there is. All I need to do is tell the green ghost that its parent is the white ghost. And actually what will happen is all of the events inside this object will be automatically inherited by this object. It means I don't have to put in any create events, any actions, any information at all. That's all I have to do is tell it that. And the nice thing about inherited events is what happens with the bear. When an event is inherited, it means the bear understands that this ghost is the same as this ghost. So I don't need to give it extra collision events or anything like that, because it understands that the ghosts are the same. So we can just cross all that out now because we don't actually need it. And that will certainly save on a lot of work. And now if I make a blue ghost or a red ghost or any other ghost, and they all have the white ghost as their parent, they'll all inherit the same events, and the bear will understand that all of them are ghosts. And this works pretty well. There's only one little problem with this, and that's what happens when the bear bumps into a crystal. Now, if you remember about what we've been building in our game so far, when the bear bumps into a crystal, the white ghost becomes afraid. He turns blue, and if the bear bumps into him, he can catch him for points. But he only stays blue for so long. After 160 steps, he turns white again, and that's what happens in his Alarm Zero event. Let's just put that there so you can see it. There's his Alarm Zero event, and it tells him turn white again. But the trouble is, because the green ghost inherits all the same events, when his Alarm Zero event happens, he'll also turn white. What could we do to fix that? Well, the nice thing about inherited events is all you have to do, if I just put that one back in there, is just give the green ghost his very own event. All I have to do on here is set up an Alarm Zero event and just tell the green ghost turn green instead of turning white. And in an inherited event, if you have a child object that's the child of a parent, if you give them their very own Alarm Zero event, it will actually replace the Alarm Zero event that they would inherit from their parent. So instead of turning white like his parent would, the green ghost will turn green. And that's all you need to do. So you can see that inherited events actually save you an awful lot of work in GameMaker. Don't worry too much if it seems like a lot to get your head around now, because we'll be using inherited events over and over again as we build different games, because they're just so very useful. But that's just a quick introduction.
So here we are back in Game Maker. Let's make some more ghosts for our game. So first of all we need to make some new sprites. So if you duplicate your blue ghost and then go into Edit Sprite, Images and Colorize, and this time it's going to pick up the colour better. So we go down here and pick a green colour. You can see that automatically turns all those images to green. Let's name it SPR green underscore ghost. And you can see over this side it's modified so the sprite doesn't get stuck on the walls. So let's duplicate it again. This time we'll make a different coloured ghost. So again, images, colorize, and just pull this right down over here so we can make a red one. Then we just name this one SPR underscore red underscore ghost, and just make sure that the mask has been modified again. Right, so now we need to make some objects. So make a brand new object and give it the green ghost sprite, and then just rename this one obj underscore green underscore ghost. And then all we need it to do next is just go to we need to inherit the events, don't we? So let's go down here to where it says parent and just put your white obj ghost in there. And that means the green ghost will inherit all the same behaviours as the white ghost. But what we need to do now is just give the green ghost his own alarm event. Because if you remember, as we've looked at, if we don't do this, when the alarm goes off, he's going to turn white, because that's the actions which he's inherited. So click on alarm 0, and then go down to set variable, which is over here inside control tab. Type in afraid and set the value to false. Okay. Then go to main tab 1, pull over change sprite, and we're going to set it to green so that when he's finished being blue he goes back to being green. Subimage -1, speed 0. And that's all we need to do for the green ghost, because now he's got his very own alarm event, so he's changing back to the correct sprite. And then if you want to make a red ghost, all we need to do is duplicate the green ghost object, go into here, make sure the parent is set to the white ghost, change the sprite to the red ghost, name it obj underscore red underscore ghost, and then over here if we just click on the change sprite event action here, pick up the red sprite and put that in there, and that's all you need to do. Let's open up our room. We're going to change these two white ghosts and put in the new ghosts we just made. So put a red one in there, and then I'm going to go and get a green one. So let's select the green ghost and then just click him in there, and now we can go and test the game and see if this works. So let's have a look. If my bear runs up and grabs a crystal, they should both turn blue. But when the timer runs out, they should both turn back to being red and green. Yep, and you can see how that just works perfectly. And again, if you want to make even more ghosts of different colours and you want to add those to your game, you can do it in exactly the same way. Next time on Amazing Mazes, we get into game design and start making the levels. See you there.